we are moving into the NFL season award predictions. So Gunnar and I are both going to be going back and forth from MVP to Protector of the Year. We're going to go over all of them.
Yeah.
So should I start? Should I start with the MVP? My predicted MVP?
No. Start with
We're gonna go
start with
comeback player.
comeback player of the year, work your way up, and then we'll go to the champs.
I should have brought up all these numbers, but my comeback player of the year is going to be Christian McCaffrey. Obviously, a guy who missed a good portion of last season. Gunner's going to call me a homer.
Nah, that's a good pick, honestly.
I just think that he's looked really great in training camp. Looks very healthy. Niners, I mean, our offensive line's whatever. It doesn't need to be the best in the league when you got a guy like Christian McCaffrey.
If he stays healthy all year,
Only played 4 games last season.
even if he stays healthy most of the year, and he looks anything like he has in years past, Christian McCaffrey will probably be comeback player of the year. However, that is not my comeback player of the year because the NFL is a quarterback-centric league. My comeback player of the year is Tua Tagovailoa. Because as long as that man stays healthy and that Miami offense looks like how it used to look, I think Tua Tagovailoa is going to be comeback player of the year. Because Christian McCaffrey dealing with the crazy, Christian McCaffrey, he had an injury that kept him out of all last season. Tua Tagovailoa has almost died 3 times. So I think he's going to win comeback player of the year just based off of that alone. How many concussions that dude's had. He goes out and he balls out like I think he will, so long as he stays healthy. I think Tua is going to be comeback player of the year. Coach of the year.
Coach of the
Basically
year.
just an award for what do you think is the best team in the league.
Oh yeah, comeback player of the year is essentially anybody who, I don't think suspensions count, but anybody who got
that makes sense.
injured for a good portion of the season, or most or all of the season.
You don't have to get injured. You could just be really buns.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, genuinely. If you just had a really bad season and come back and play crazy, essentially that award is reserved for anybody who is able to come back.
Wasn't it Sam Darnold?
Yeah.
Sam Darnold wasn't hurt. He just didn't play good until last year.
Come back and impress. All right,
That's all it is.
That's all it is.
Next
Coach of
award,
the year.
Coach of the year. Basically, like I said, it's just whoever's best team in the league almost. Now, sometimes that's not always the case, but it's usually just one of the top 5 teams. And whoever coach impressed the most. Gabe, who do you think is coach of the year?
I got Dan Campbell of the Detroit Lions, and my reasoning for this is I think that he's a great coach. I think that the guys over in Detroit rally behind him very well. And if this wasn't my pick, I would have gone with Kevin O'Connell, but I just don't think he wins it back-to-back years. And I'm kind of using the same philosophy behind why I would have picked Kevin O'Connell. Is I think O'Connell runs a great offense, and B-Flow runs a great defense for them. I think when you got it going on both sides of the ball, you're putting yourself in a great position to win Coach of the Year. So I think Dan Campbell does that. I think that the defense is really good. You got Aiden Hutchinson coming back from a gruesome injury. That's another guy I'd be on watch for comeback player of the year. But I think that the defense and offense does well. Obviously, we got Jared Goff, very comfortable, very confident in that offense. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jameson Williams,
David
TJ
Montgomery.
Hawkinson. Huh?
David Montgomery.
David Montgomery. That's a good offense.
Good offense. Lost both coordinators, though. How does that affect them?
How does that affect them?
I don't know.
Ben Johnson to the Bears.
That's why
another guy, Coach of the Year.
That's why he's not my coach of the year. Dan Campbell. The main reason Dan Campbell's not my coach of the year, besides the fact that he lost both of his coordinators, is I feel like they've been saying Dan Campbell's coach of the year for the past 4 years, and he hasn't won it yet.
Fair enough.
I just don't think it's going to happen. If you don't win it after everyone's talking about it, you're not going to win it. My coach of the year is Dan Quinn. A different Dan. But Dan
both
Quinn.
went with the Dans here.
I went with Dan Quinn with the Washington Commanders. I think they looked amazing last year. I mean, with a rookie quarterback, you almost went to the Super Bowl. You only lost to the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. And I think Dan Quinn really impressed people in his first year to take a team with a rookie quarterback. Do that. They added some good weapons. I think there's a lot of consistency with coaches. I think they improved the defense better. They got Deebo Samuel on the offense. I don't know how much that helps, but that's probably going to help.
Probably help more than it would have if McLaurin hadn't sat out all camp. So
Right.
Debo's fully assimilated into that offense
Right.
now. So
And Cliff Kingsbury, still the offensive coordinator there, win a second-year quarterback that looked lights out in his first year. I think Dan Quinn's going to win Coach of the Year. I think the Commanders are going to be really, really good, and I think he's going to win Coach of the Year.
very good pick.
Moving on, Defensive Rookie of the Year. So basically, this is just out of all the rookies drafted or undrafted in the NFL, which defensive player out of all of them looked the best? My Defensive Rookie of the Year should not really come as a surprise. It's Abdul Carter. He was the first. He wasn't really he was the first true defensive player drafted in the NFL or this NFL draft, because Travis Hunter is a two-way. He plays both offense and defense, but Abdul Carter was the first defensive-only player taken, and for good reason. That dude's a menace. The New York Giants are going to be a lot better than I think people give him credit for. I believe in Russell Wilson leading that team. I think he looked really good with the Steelers last year, and I think Brian Daboll. He's still the coach for a reason. He's got a good mind when it comes to that, and so I think Abdul Carter is just going to probably be the runaway Defensive Rookie of the Year.
I like that pick.
You got a little different though.
I went a little different. And I don't know. I think that there's a lot of value behind Carter, but I like a guy named Mason Graham. Drafted out of Michigan, had a great year with them last year. Defensive tackle, very good at stuffing the hole, stopping the run. And I think that's going to be paired really well with a guy like Myles Garrett off the edge. Obviously, Abdul Carter has Brian Burns coming off the other edge, which is going to help a ton. Dexter Lawrence coming up the middle. The guy's going to feast, but I like Mason Graham. The guy is like a one-man wrecking machine. As himself as a defensive tackle, showed a lot in preseason, was able to get through, get a couple tackles for losses. I think that he's going to show that throughout the season. With Garrett on the other side of him, I think that there's going to be a lot to deal with, especially as a quarterback. So yeah, I like Mason Graham. I like his ability to stop the run and maybe even get a couple sacks with the help of Mr. Myles Garrett.
Good breakdown. I have no faith in Mason Graham. Unfortunately, I just proved me wrong. But
small arms.
No,
Short
he
arms?
puked his first day of practice,
And
and that was enough to be like, all right, buddy. You're not quite adjusted yet.
not quite, but
So I don't know. I think he'll pan out as a player 100%. I don't think he'll be bad. I think he'll probably be one of the better defensive tackles in the league. But at the end of the day, I just don't think he's going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year, because the people that win Rookie of the Year are the people that can, as quickly as possible, assimilate into the NFL. And if on your first day of camp you're like puking, I don't really see that happening. But maybe I'm wrong. Prove me wrong. But then we go to the other side of the ball. We move to the Offensive Rookie of the Year. There's not a special teams one. There needs to be a special team.
there does.
It doesn't need to be rookie, but special teams player. Come on now.
Utility man of the year.
I don't know. Anyway, Offensive Rookie of the Year. Gabe and I actually have the same one.
Because,
It's Ashton Jeanty. He's the Raiders running back. He's going to be the Raiders offense, him and Brock Bowers. So it's pretty obvious. I mean, you can say maybe Cam Ward. You can say Tetoro McMillan. But I think the clear, obvious answer is Ashton Jeanty.
yeah, I just think he's very productive. He's literally, we looked at Boise State the other day.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, without him, they just completely collapsed.
Yeah, they're not exactly a ranked team without him. So I think that he has a similar impact. The guy is, what do you even say about him? He's not like your average player. He's a superstar. That's what Ashton Jeanty is. He's got superstar qualities. He's able to lead an offense, be the focal point of an offense, which, not a lot of people are able to do, no matter what level. And he did it on the college stage, and I think he brings that same level to the NFL stage. Watching the Niners preseason game, he literally put Lenore into the dirt, to the turf, which was not a very fun sight for me, but I'm sure it was a fun sight for Raiders fans seeing what he's capable of. Put on some good size for the NFL, and still has the speed to go with it.
Yeah,
How's the Raiders' offensive line?
It's pretty okay.
It'll get by.
Probably like middle of the pack.
It'll get them by.
Yeah, it'll get by. But I think Jancy's just the clear, obvious choice. Cam Ward has got too many questions around him. I think his talent is great, but it just Nobody knows how the Titans are really going to look. Is Calvin Ridley going to be his wide receiver one? Is that going to pan out?
You're banking on Calvin Ridley.
You're banking on that offensive line, which I don't think is historically good. So I just think there's a lot of questions around that. Plus, Jancy's probably just going to be the more exciting player year one. And that just goes a big part of it. Offensive Rookie of the Year, all these awards actually aren't necessarily who had the best stats at the end of the day. No. It's probably just who was the most exciting to watch. Because if we're being honest, last year, Lamar Jackson had the best stats. Joe Burrow probably had the best stats, but Josh Allen won MVP because he was the more exciting person to watch because his team was winning more. And he hadn't won one yet. I think there was a little bias in that.
That was the argument. It was pretty much...
They didn't want to give Lamar a three-peat.
They didn't want to give Lamar the three-peat, but, I mean, when there's a guy doing it on both sides of the ball, kind of hard to deny. But I think maybe the Derrick Henry taking some of those rushing touchdowns definitely took away some of the allure, but, I mean, Lamar improved as a passer last season as a result of it. Like, he was throwing a lot better, so definitely interesting, something to keep an eye on, but we're not at MVP yet, so we shouldn't get into it too much.
This next one, this is a new award. It's never been given out before, but in the 2025 season, the NFL is giving out Protector of the Year award, which essentially is just who's the best offensive lineman in football. This award was needed because there was a lot of great offensive talent for a long time that were just not getting their flowers. Right? There was guys like Jason Kelce that are the reason why the Eagles were so dominant with the tush push, and it was very apparent as soon as he wasn't in that offense last year how bad, like not how bad, but how much worse they got at the tush push. They're still really good, but there was a clear-cut difference, and it was just Jason Kelce should have won awards, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys that should have won awards, and they just didn't because there was no award for it, and no one was going to give it to an offensive player of the year because that's very excitement-based, so the running back, wide receiver, quarterback, and same with MVPs and all that. So it's very exciting now that we actually have a Protector of the Year award. My Protector of the Year award is Joe Alt, second-year player for the Los Angeles Chargers. I think he wins it because he looked really dominant in his first year on the Chargers, and because he switched to left tackle because the Los Angeles Chargers starting left tackle, Rashawn Slater, is out for the season.
Yeah.
And so they moved Joe Alt from right tackle to Justin Herbert's blind spot in left tackle. And I think that's going to add some more likelihood that Joe Alt wins it because he's now protecting the part of the part of the field that Justin Herbert can't actually see. So I think that's going to add a lot more. The left tackles are some of the most highest paid players in football because they have to protect the quarterback from where they can't see, unless you have a left-handed quarterback like Tua. Then it's your right tackle. However, I would like to state that I think the Protector of the Year award should be retroactive to Quentin Nelson, and if he wins it, then absolutely that's good for him. Quentin Nelson probably should have like 8 Protector of the Year awards, but he just doesn't because they didn't have one. But Quentin Nelson, if he won just on principle that it goes retroactive, give it to Quentin Nelson. But Joe Alt's my prediction.
Good prediction. I am, because I don't want to go same as you the entire time, but I want to go with Penei Sewell. Penei Sewell. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Sorry.
Penei Sewell.
Penei Sewell. I think, being on one of the best offenses in the league, obviously he's the left tackle, so he's going to be blindside protection for...
Left tackle? He was right tackle for a little bit. It just says offensive tackle. I think they probably move him around.
I thought he was left tackle. But anyways, tackle for one of the best offenses in the league, in the Lions. Obviously, that passing game is one of the bigger parts of that offense with Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Jared Goff moving it through the air. And I think if you're protecting your quarterback, able to stay on the field for 17 games, and are doing it against some of the best edge rushers in the league, you are definitely making a case for yourself. I think Penei Sewell, along with the size, the skill, the footwork, I think he's one of the better offensive linemen in the league, and is going to win Protector of the Year.
Penei Sewell plays right tackle.
He's a right tackle.
See, that's why I think Joe Alt has more of a chance because he has to
guards
protect
the
that blind side. Moving on to the more prestigious picks. These are the ones that people care about the most. Defensive Player of the Year. I'll let Gabe start because he's a homer.
I'm a homer. I go Nick Bosa in these cases. I mean, when we think about the last time that Bosa had a assistance on the defensive line, which was like 4 years ago, when Armstead was still with us, Eric Armstead. Jaguars defensive tackle? Jaguars? He might still be there, might not. Not something I really keep up with the Jaguars, fortunately. Brian Thomas Jr., shout out. But I think Nick Bosa has Mykel Williams, 13th overall pick out of Georgia. Very good defensive end for Georgia last season. I don't want to say that our schemes are too similar to Georgia's, but I think with a guy like Saleh, we'll get a lot of. I think he'll cater to guys, get them some looks that are similar to what they have in college. Saleh's a great defensive mind. He's going to get them implemented wherever they need to be in the defense. I think he sets up Mykel Williams in good positions that allows Bosa not to be double teamed every time, which is what we'd been dealing with recently. Still somehow leads the league in pressures, but doesn't show up on the sack sheet. So I think that those numbers start to change this season. Along with the pressures, we start to get some more sacks because we get more one-on-ones. Bosa's great one-on-one. When he's double teamed, it's a little harder. When he's getting chipped, it's a little harder. As with anybody in the league. But I think, some pass rush on the other edge. Alfred Collins coming up the middle. We have a little bit more help on the defensive line. And then with Saleh back, we'll get some more like linebacker rush linebacker blitzes. Like we'll get Warner gets sent up the middle sometimes. So, have some variety. Let's get some better looks for Bosa to get some sacks. I think he wins Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, he's got the ability to. I'm not going to discredit that.
He's done it before.
And I think,
That's my thought behind it.
I think with Robert Saleh coming back to the Niners, that's going to be huge. I think that's something that people haven't really talked about enough. But Robert Saleh is a great defensive mind. And the Niners looked really good when he was their defensive coordinator. So having him back, I think, is going to play a big part into Nick Bosa's year and the rest of that Niners defense. However, I still just don't think that Nick Bosa is going to win Defensive Player of the Year. I am a Raider fan. I want nothing more than Max Crosby to win Defensive Player of the Year. But the defensive line is not good enough for him to do it. He gets double teamed, kind of similar to Nick Bosa. He gets double teamed every snap, and the sacks just don't always appear. I think he only had like 8 last year because he just doesn't have anybody on the opposite side of him. I mean, Malcolm Kuntz looked really good at the end of the 2023 season, but then he was injured and he didn't get to play for the 2024 season. So we had no idea what that tandem was actually going to look like. And maybe he'll be good, maybe he won't. We don't know because he just came off an injury and he hasn't played in over a year. So that's tough. And then on top of that, Christian Wilkins was acting a little funky in the locker room, and he's gone now. And so you don't get a premier defensive tackle on that defensive line either. So Max Crosby is all by himself again, and again. Happens every year. So, with that being said, as much as I want Max Crosby to win Defensive Player of the Year, I believe the Defensive Player of the Year is going to be Micah Parsons. This is very, very, very relevant considering that Micah Parsons just got traded from the Dallas Cowboys to the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers have a much better defense than the Dallas Cowboys, in my opinion. I also think the Green Bay Packers are a better, more hopeful team than the Dallas Cowboys. I think they have a lot of excitement around them, and that defensive line is much better than the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
Having Rashawn Gary on the outside, on the other side of Micah Parsons is going to be insane, and I think Micah Parsons has a Saquon-type year, where Saquon got traded. Well, I guess it was the offseason, so he didn't get traded, but Saquon left the Giants, signed with the Philadelphia Eagles, immediately became Offensive Player of the Year and the rushing champion and won a Super Bowl. I don't think the Packers are going to win the Super Bowl. Little hint in my early prediction. You get 1 out of 32 teams that aren't going to win it. But I think that Micah Parsons is going to be Defensive Player of the Year. I think he makes that defense so much better. That defensive front is going to be so much more impactful. They're going to probably get like 10 sacks a game. I think they're going to be that good on the defensive line. And so I think Micah Parsons is going to be the reason why. I think he inspires probably other players on that defense too, like Rashawn Gary. And so Micah Parsons, I expect him to have a Saquon type year. Go to a new team, immediately ball out, and win Defensive Player of the Year. On the other side of the ball, offensive player of the year. Both Gabe and I went receiver here,
Receiver.
but I went Jamar Chase. Questionable considering Jamar Chase is the number 1 overall pick in most fantasy drafts, and that usually doesn't pan out. But you know what? I'm not superstitious. I'm just a little stitious. I'm not superstitious. So I think Jamar Chase will win Offensive Player of the Year. He had lights out numbers last year, and I think that some players like Bijan and Saquon, they'll be right up there. You know, that's why they're so high in fantasy, but I don't think they're going to be the guy. I think Jamar Chase is number 1 in fantasy for a reason, and I think it's because he's going to be Offensive Player.
I respect that. I can get behind a Jamar Chase Offensive Player of the Year, but I'm not getting behind it this year, all right? Wild card pick. This man plays with terrible quarterbacks, so why can't he do it with a good one? Malik Neighbors of the New York Giants had 1,200 yards on 109 receptions last season. You know
I don't
who was
hate
throwing
that.
him the football?
Daniel Jones, Tommy DeVito.
Yeah, nobody
Yeah.
wants these guys at quarterback, and you know he makes do with it, and that's what I respect about him. You know, not a real Tommy DeVito guy here, but I'm a real Malik Neighbors guy, and you know when you can go for 1,200 yards with the most ragtag group of quarterbacks, why can't you do it with Russell Wilson, who I think got a lot of trash from Broncos fans when he shouldn't have.
Yeah, I think Russell Wilson got way too much hate with his Denver stand. I think Denver was just the worst possible
Was just
team at that
terrible,
part.
like just terrible for him to go to. And even the Steelers, they're just not a good team around him. So
I mean, they were okay. They looked good. They looked like
solid.
the Steelers look every year, where it's just like 8-8.
mid.
Well, not anymore, but 9-8.
Yeah,
I don't hate that pick.
17 game season. They can't be 8-8 anymore.
I don't hate that pick. I think
No.
Malik Neighbors is really, really good, and I could totally see him winning Offensive Player of the Year.
I think he matured a lot in his first season, having to work with so many different quarterbacks. And I think when you have some security with your quarterback in Russell Wilson, I think they're gonna have a good rapport, a lot of trust between the two of them, because it's like clear cut wide receiver one. He's not competing with anybody. Not that there could be anybody to compete with, but I like this. I like the situation for him.
I like that pick actually too, because if Russell Wilson does end up getting hurt, having Jackson Dart step in doesn't really diminish his value, right? I don't know if they would rather have Jameis step in. I think it'd probably be Jackson Dart.
It would be Dart.
But Dart looks really good. I thought he looked good coming out of college. And so I think that Dart filling in for Russell Wilson in case he goes down, you know, hoping that doesn't happen. But if it does, I don't hate that Malik Neighbors would still probably end up being Offensive Player of the Year. And honestly, that'd probably make a stronger case for him, because if Russell Wilson were to go down and then Dart comes in and he still has the same numbers as Russell Wilson, they would be like, the reason why is because of Malik Neighbors.
Yeah.
So I like that pick, honestly. But the grand pick of them all is the most valuable player. The best player in all of the NFL, also known as the Quarterback's Award, because they don't ever give it to anyone who deserves it who's not a quarterback. But with that being said, most valuable player, most valuable quarterback. They should really just change it to the most valuable
most
quarterback.
valuable quarterback.
Most valuable player award. Gabe, who do you got?
I got Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens. Obviously, a guy who was
Safe pick.
pretty much set to three-peat last year. Kind of. I don't. There's no robberies. All right. Let's not stop calling everything that's close to robbery. But I think that he definitely deserved it. Definitely had his rights to the right of way to this MVP. Definitely did not benefit from the Derrick Henry taking his touchdowns, but he, like I said, he improved a lot as a passer. Was able to throw outside the numbers, which he kind of wasn't able to do as much, and doesn't help that he doesn't have a Jamar Chase to throw to, but he's made do with Rashad Bateman and Zay Flowers. All right.
Yeah.
These are not like household receiver names, not guys that you're going to be like particularly picking as your wide
D-Hop,
receiver
though.
one in fantasy, but
Got D-Hop.
they do have D-Hop. So
A little old now, though.
he's a little older, but safety net for him to throw to. Still got hands. Jackson improved a lot as a passer. Think he's still got the legs to run with. If anything, I think that's causes more trouble for teams, because not only is he a better passer now, could always throw on the run, but now he can really mix it up, throw off defenses. You never know.
I mean, honestly, if I was John Harbaugh, I would probably just do read option every time. If I'm being honest, because I could not
You could do
imagine.
RPOs, run
I
pass
could
options.
I couldn't imagine as a defensive end being like, should I crash down and follow Derrick Henry or should I stay back and try to follow Lamar Jackson? It's a lose-lose either way.
Yeah.
Because even if you do stay back, Lamar Jackson's going to get around you, and if you do crash down, Derrick Henry's going to truck through you. I'll just do that. I just run the Navy offense, wing T every time. But you mentioned Lamar doesn't have a Jamar Chase, my offensive player of the year. You know who does have a Jamar Chase? My MVP, Joe Shiesty. Joe Burrow for MVP. This man deserved it so badly last year. But his team was so bad. The Cincinnati Bengals were atrocious on defense, and his offensive line was not very good, and so they didn't make playoffs. But his stats were
That's one thing I heavily
insane.
disagree with. While Gunner looks those up, I'm so mad that the MVP award in pretty much any sport at this point is so closely tied to record. Like so
Right,
closely tied
right.
to team success because it's not a team award, you know? Like this is the most valuable player to his team. You know, what does it look like when this player is on the field versus off the field? Like how much of a difference does that make? What's the differential between
Exactly.
how valuable is that guy to the team?
Exactly. It's like I've heard people mention about that argument with the Aaron Judge, Cal Raleigh, who's going to be AL MVP. Oh, the Mariners aren't as good as the Yankees. I don't care. Cal Raleigh is a switch hitting catcher that has over 50 home runs. That's never been done before.
He's guiding the pitching staff and
He,
hitting home runs.
he is the most important defensive player,
Mm-hmm.
and he is the best hitter on that team. If you ask me right now, add one person to your team, I would choose Cal Raleigh because I love Patrick Bailey as a defensive player, but as an offensive hitter, he's not that good. He's not been historically good, and so I would add Cal Raleigh. He's the most valuable player, but people are like, oh, but the Yankees are a little bit better. And that's what happened with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow in 2024 had 4,918 passing yards on a 70% completion rating. 5,000 yards on 70% completion rating. 43 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. He had less than 10 picks and 43 touchdowns with a 108.5 QB rating. That is the best offensive stat of all time last year. Not all time, but all of last year. Joe Burrow had the best offensive stats. His team was just so bad around him that he didn't make playoffs. And so they were like, well, he can't be the most valuable player because his team didn't make playoffs. Nobody put up numbers like this.
No.
So I think he gets his lick back, and I think that Joe Burrow wins the MVP. And that's why I actually picked Jamar Chase as my offensive player of the year. I think those dudes have a vengeance. They're going to come out swinging, and they're going to show everybody what they are. And I think the Bengals are going to look really, really good. I think they are going to rival the Baltimore Ravens and the Steelers. I think they're going to – I don't know if they're going to win their division. The Ravens are that good. But if they make playoffs, Joe Burrow's MVP. He has to be. Honestly, in just retroactive purposes, he has to be.
Just got to open up the season well this year, and they always get off on the wrong foot. So they can win the first couple games, so then they're going to be in a good spot.
Yeah. Speaking of teams in a good spot, you know where a good spot is? The conference championship. And that's what we're talking about right now. Our NFC champions. Who we think is going to the Super Bowl from the NFC side. Gabe, who do you got?
I got the Lions. Call
Why?
it a safe pick. Call it whatever you want. All right.
Honestly.
I like that the Lions consistently play good competition throughout the year. You know, you play the Vikings. I think they play the Niners again this year. But Lions are always primed for the playoffs, primed for a good playoff run. I think, you know, you gotta get everything, you know, lined up. They didn't have Hutchinson, which is a massive part of their defense for the latter half of the season. That definitely hurt. But, you know, I think that this offense has matured. We're in year 4 or 5 for a lot of these guys. I think this is Goff's third year with the Lions.
It's longer than that.
Longer than that? Anywho, they are very much assimilated into this offense. I think, you know, Ben Johnson leaving, Aaron Glenn leaving, it hurts. It's not good. Any team is going to struggle. We saw the Niners struggled after losing Saleh and Ryans, because then we brought in some rando.
McDaniels.
And McDaniels. I think as so long as you're not bringing in a Steve Wilkes, you might be good.
I don't know. I mean,
I don't know who they brought in.
the inverse can be true too, because the Eagles lost both their quarterbacks. They lost Gannon and Steichen, and they made the Super Bowl like a couple years later.
Yep.
So possible.
It's
I don't
possible.
know if it's this year though.
It's culture, and I think Dan Campbell does a good job at maintaining culture. So
Plus, he found those offensive and defensive coordinators, so I think he'll find the next ones.
he'll find the next ones. He's connected in the industry, so I got Lions. But who do you got for your NFC champs?
Well, interesting. Your coach of the year brought his team to the Super Bowl on the NFC side. My coach of the year is bringing his team to the Super Bowl from the NFC side. I believe the Washington Commanders, these haters can't stand us. They are gonna go to the Super Bowl. They're gonna be the NFC champions. I loved Jaden Daniels in his first year. I love the offense that they're building.
Here lies Jaden Daniels.
Plus, they're adding Bill. Come on, you got to root for Bill. Bill's gonna carry, bro. Jaden Daniels, Bill Krosky Merritt, Debo Samuel, Terry McLaurin, who just signed a fat contract. The defense got better. Dan Quinn's there. Offensive coordinator's still there. Defensive coordinator's still there. They look like they're primed for success. And I know they have a tough division. I think the Giants are going to be better than people are giving them credit for. The Cowboys, who knows? Consistently always there, but always not quite there. They're there, but they're not there. They're like right borderline every single year. And then the Eagles, of course, are the defending Super Bowl champions. Really hard to go back to back. But I like the NFC East. I think that the Commanders are going to make the Super Bowl. I just have all the faith in Jaden Daniels. JD5, baby. Carry me to greatness.
Tons of respect for him.
In the other conference, though, the AFC, we have a little bit of a different story. We got some teams that have been in the playoffs consistently, but haven't quite made it all the way yet.
Haven't quite.
I have the Baltimore Ravens going to the Super Bowl from the AFC side. I have them being the AFC champions. We mentioned earlier he wasn't my MVP. But that's because of what happened later. He wasn't my MVP, but Lamar Jackson has an insane year. Derrick Henry needs to, he's going to be Derrick Henry. I think the team got better. I don't think they got worse over the offseason. I think they did get better. The Ravens have always quite been there. Just not quite enough, but knocking on the door. And I think this year is going to be the year that Lamar Jackson's going to dig down deep and be like, no, I am winning, because his legs aren't going to last him forever. He's not going to have that dynamic of his game forever. And I think he knows that.
Yeah.
So he's like, I need to do it now. I think he's going to come out hungry. So I have the Baltimore Ravens going to the Super Bowl from the AFC.
Funny, you have my quarterback, my MVP, going to the Super Bowl, but I don't quite agree, because I think Josh Allen and the Bills go all the way this year. It's a little strange because they don't really have like an oh my god defense. They're not gonna but that offense, man. I mean, Josh Allen himself, he's not really got like crazy weapons. James Cook just got signed for like 6 years. Congrats to him on the contract. Very capable running back nonetheless. May not be your B. Johns and Saquons, but he's James Cook. Younger brother of Dalvin Cook. They're cooking. I think Keon Coleman, reference to the first episode.
Second episode. Our fantasy football
episode. I'm lying to you. Your first episode, you would be meeting Darrell Evans. Second episode, Keon Coleman, our sleeper
of the day.
Sleeper of the day.
He got picked one pick before me in my draft. It was the 7th round. I was like, I'm going to take him. And then the dude before me, Drew. I love you, Drew. How dare you? You know what? That's why the Lions aren't making this.
It was a terrible pick, Drew.
How
would you do that?
The Commanders are. I also didn't get O'Marion Hampton. I ended up with CD.
Okay.
CD Lamb. And the reason why I took CD Lamb, I know I'm going off tangent, taking your time a little bit. The reason why I took CD Lamb is because Justin Jefferson is dealing with a hamstring injury, and I believe hamstring injuries are going to plague players the entire season. If he's not healthy right now, it's only going to get worse. I think by like week 3 or 4, he's going to start to feel it tighten up, and that's going to suck. And I don't want that to happen. I root for him to be healthy the entire year, but I just don't see that happening. And I think where I was, I think in a half PPR, CD Lamb makes sense. But anyway, go on, Bills, make it.
Oh, Bills.
Bills.
They don't have Bill, all right, but
They don't have Bill.
they are the Bills. Josh Allen, MVP last year. Not that, he didn't deserve it. There were guys with better stats than him, but nonetheless, he was in the conversation. He was in the conversation to win MVP,
Yeah.
and he's pretty consistently in that conversation because the man can throw the football. To whoever, too. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's not like he's got,
True.
like, premier
Doesn't have
receivers.
Jamar.
Stephon Diggs was dope. I love that connection for the time that they had it. And I think that really helped him as a quarterback kind of coming up.
So I got the Ravens. Gabe's got the Bills. I think those are both solid squads to win it. We both have the AFC. It's interesting. We both have the
We kind
AFC.
of, flip-flopped to, like, similar
We did.
choices.
Neither of us had our coach of the year winning the Super Bowl, but we had them going to it. Which is it's just
Interesting,
and
right?
then we picked the AFC. It's interesting. Interesting belief
Interesting,
system, I guess. But the reason why I did pick the Ravens, or the reason why I didn't put Lamar Jackson as the MVP, especially, is because I think the Ravens will win the Super Bowl, and MVPs don't win Super Bowls that often. Patrick Mahomes, I think, is the first one that happened in since 2000. That was it. I
Wow.
think Kurt Warner in 2000 was the last one,
to
or
win
99. I think it was technically 99.
Super Bowl the same way.
But he's the last one.
MVP. Wow.
Last one. Never happened. A lot of MVPs made the Super Bowl and they lost. So last one was Patrick Mahomes, and before that, Kurt Warner.
Mahomes won it the year that he lost to Brady, right? Wow.
But he I think it was his third Super Bowl that he won, where he got MVP and he still
Mhm.
won. Anyway, that wraps up our NFL awards and predictions for the season. Let us know in the comments if you guys disagree or agree with any of it. If you have some egregious takes, I want to hear them because I think those are the most fun kind of takes. If you think the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl, it's pretty plain. You think the Seattle Seahawks are winning the Super Bowl, there you go. There's an egregious take I want to hear. So let us know in the comments.